I'm Allie, the founder of Glossa. I want to talk you through what Glossa does, what's new, and why it might matter for your business. But first, the problem, because Glossa exists to solve a very specific problem. If you run a consultancy or a professional services team, you've seen this before. Sales has a great conversation with the client. The client talks about what they're trying to accomplish, their business goals, maybe it's reducing churn, maybe it's improving the reporting cycle, maybe it's getting visibility into their pipeline, real business outcomes. And then the deal closes, and somewhere between the signed SOW and the project kickoff, those business goals just disappear. Delivery, they get an SOW, maybe they get some notes, maybe they get hours of recordings that nobody has time to watch, and from there, really two things tend to happen. First, delivery does discovery, and it's hard to write good requirements. Even with the best intentions and the hardest workers, requirements are inclined to be vague, contradictory, incomplete. And you don't find out which ones are the bad ones until you've already started building the thing. You demo it to the client, and the client says, "That's not what I wanted." Now you're doing rework, and not only is it wasted time, frustrated teams, frustrated clients, eroded trust, it is also eroding your margin. It's like the most expensive problem in professional services, and it's almost always preventable. The second problem, even when the requirements are technically correct, the business outcomes that drove the project in the first place, the reason that this business is investing so much in this project, they get lost. The exec who championed the project talked about reducing churn or cutting the reporting cycle in half, but by the time delivery is heads down, actually building things, the goal becomes deliver on time and on budget, no matter what you're delivering. The implementation gets done, but the client doesn't see the value that they were promised. Bad requirements cause rework. Lost business context means that you build the right thing for the wrong reasons or maybe even the wrong thing entirely. Glossa solves both. Glossa captures everything that happens in your client projects, conversations, emails, documents, and turns it into structured, actionable requirements that your team can actually build from. This does two things. First, it makes your requirements better, clearer, more complete, less ambiguous. It catches contradictions. It flags vague language. It identifies risks. Our whole philosophy is that you can prevent rework downstream by investing in high quality requirements upfront. And second, it keeps the business outcomes connected to the work. So your delivery team doesn't just know what to build, they know why they're building it, and they know what success looks like for the client. And it's not just delivered on time and on budget. It works across your whole project lifecycle. Sales uses Glossa during discovery, delivery uses it during implementation, and then managed services inherits the full history so that nobody starts from scratch and nobody loses context. So let me show you how it works. First thing, you connect Glossa to the tools that you're already using. Google Meet, Teams, Gmail, Outlook, G Drive, Slack, whatever your team works with. And then from that point forward, project conversations get captured automatically. Meetings, emails, documents, it all flows into Glossa, organized by project. A quick note on security, everything is encrypted, you have full control over what gets captured, and your data is not used to train models or improve the product. We take that really seriously. Of course, happy to go deeper on that if you want. So let's create a project. I'm going to set this up as a Salesforce implementation for a nonprofit. It's a pretty common use case that I see. You'll notice that there is a setting here called requirements granularity, and I am going to come back to it. It's one of our newest features, and I'm for now just going to set it to balanced. Now in my project, I'm going to upload a recording from an initial discovery call with this client. Glossa processes it and creates structured requirements automatically. Here are the requirements that Glossa generated from that conversation. Let me show you a couple of things. If we click into one, we can see every requirement cites its source. I can see exactly where in the conversation this came from. The transcript is highlighted, it's time-stamped in the recording, and I can watch or listen to that exact moment right here. This matters for two reasons. First, it's verification. You're not relying on somebody's notes or an AI summary. You can hear what was actually said. Maybe something was said sarcastically. Second, it's continuity. If someone new joins the project, they don't have to watch hours and hours of recordings. They just jump straight to the specific moments that are important. We also flag vague requirements. Classic ones like the system should be fast or the interface should be user-friendly. You and the client agree on the language, but you're holding different things in your heads. Glossa flags those and helps you sharpen them. It gives you a quality assessment, it suggests follow-up questions, and you can even brainstorm ways to make it better by chatting with the requirement directly. You can also generate acceptance criteria and user stories directly from any requirement, and you still review and refine, but the first draft is done in seconds instead of minutes. Also, we flag potentially contradictory requirements. You know how this goes. One stakeholder says nightly batches, 2 weeks later, IT says real time. If you don't catch that, you build based on one of those conversations. You show it to the client and they say, that's not what we asked for, and then you're doing rework. Glossa catches those contradictions before any work gets done. Your team sees the flag, clarifies what's needed, documents the decision. You can take care of it before it becomes expensive. All of this, the vague requirements, the contradictory requirements, creating the requirements, it pushes quality upstream, which means fewer surprises downstream. Fewer surprises means less rework, and as the saying goes, rework is where your margin goes to die. Okay, let me show you categories. When you've got dozens or hundreds of requirements in a project, reviewing them one by one is hard. You're trying to hold the full picture in your head. Are we covering everything for user authentication? Is our data migration plan complete? It's hard to see the forest for the trees. So categories groups related requirements together automatically. So everything related to, say, reporting and analytics. You click into a category, you get a few things. First, of course, a list of all the requirements in that category. Then on the next tab, a summary of what's included, the scope of the category, what we're building, what it covers, a quality assessment, so not just for individual requirements, but for this group as a whole. Are these requirements clear, complete, testable? What are the risks? What are the root causes of any weaknesses? And suggestions for what's missing. Based on the requirements that you have, Glossa tells you what it thinks should probably be there but isn't. And this is really valuable. It's catching gaps that are easy to miss when you're looking at requirements individually. So think of categories like instead of reviewing hundreds of individual requirements, you're reviewing 10 or 15 coherent feature areas. It's just a much more practical way to make sure your requirements are comprehensive before you start building. Okay, one other thing that I want to show you is the granularity dial. This one came directly from customer feedback, and I think it's how teams are actually using Glossa today for a project lifecycle. Depending on where you are in a project, your requirements need to look different. When you're in sales, doing early discovery, putting together a proposal, you don't need 500 detailed technical requirements. You need maybe a few dozen high-level requirements that capture the big picture. So enough to scope the work, write a solid SOW, and make sure you and the client are aligned on what the project covers. But when you're in delivery, deep and detailed discovery, you want specifics, you want granularity. So previously, Glossa used to generate everything at one level of detail, but the feedback that we got was the requirements are really good, they're accurate, but sometimes there are too many and they are too detailed for where I am in the project. So we built the requirements granularity dial, or as we like to call it, super dial. You've got three options. Broad strokes, this is for sales, for early scoping, fewer requirements, each one higher level, one or two sentences that capture basically major capabilities. It's what you want for when you're writing an SOW. Balanced, this is your sweet spot for most delivery work, more detail, more requirements, about twice the volume of broad strokes, just as a rule of thumb. Each requirement covers a pretty distinct functional area. And then granular, for when you really need to go deep for thorough, detailed, specific requirements, like twice the volume of balanced. This is for focused, technical conversations where you need everything captured. So this is a project level setting that you can change anytime. So the natural workflow is you start a project in sales with broad strokes, you use those high level requirements in your SOW, the deal closes, delivery picks it up, they switch to balance or granular, upload their own discovery documents, those get processed at the new level of detail. The original sales requirements stay as they are. So your project grows in detail as the project itself matures. You're not starting from scratch, you're building from the foundation that's already there. Let me zoom out for a second because I think this is the part that's really important. The efficiency is real, right? Your team isn't spending hours writing requirements by hand or recreating context or chasing down an AE to ask what was talked about during the sales cycle. Across dozens of requirements, multiple projects, like this time adds up. It's substantial. But the bigger wins are really quality and outcomes. On the quality side, when you catch contradictions up front, when you flag vague requirements up front, and you are able to take action and sharpen these before build begins, you avoid rework. And as we all know, rework is where margin goes to die. And on the outcome side, when your requirements stay connected to the business goals that drove the project, your team builds the right thing. Not just features that technically meet what's in the SOW, but what the client was actually promised. And that's how you get renewals. That's how you get referrals. That's how you differentiate in a market where everybody is competing on the same talent and the same technology. Okay, a few questions that I hear often that I figured it might be helpful to include in this video. Number one, is Glossa just for delivery teams or just for sales? Neither. I think I've covered that in this video. It works across both. It's most powerful, of course, when both sales and delivery are using it, but you don't need both to get value. If you're a delivery team and your sales team isn't using Glossa, you still save a ton of time on requirements generation and you get all of the quality benefits, so contradiction flagging and vague requirement flagging. If you're a sales team and your delivery team isn't using Glossa, it'll still make writing proposals easier and faster, so you can sell more. Another question. Can't I just do this with ChatGPT or Notebook LM? Sure, any AI can generate requirements, but generating them is only a small part of the job, right? You also need to manage them. Glossa tracks everything for full auditability. Conversations about requirements happen on the requirement, so you can track all history there. Every requirement cites its source, so you can watch the exact moment in the recording from Glossa. When you're ready, requirements sync straight to Jira, and you don't need to write a bespoke series of prompts that you have to remember or use a library when there's a purpose-built tool for implementations. Consultants just don't want to be prompt engineers. And finally, does it take a long time to set up Glossa? It takes a couple minutes. Glossa just plugs into the tools that you're already using. So upload a few files, invite your team, and you are running. There's no migration, there's no training program. I mean, we'll train you if you want. There's no change management. It fits into your workflow as is. If any of this resonates, whether it's rework, as we all know, where margins go to die, lost context, or you just want your team spending less time on admin work and more time on strategic work, I'd love to show you how Glossa works with your actual project data. So book a demo at glossapro.ai, and I will walk you through it with your data in your workflow, or just email me directly. Thank you for watching, and get in touch.